Exactly 48 hours ago, though you do not remember it consciously, you performed an act so impossibly powerful that it bent the very threads of fate itself. Not a single human witnessed it. Not a single earthly eye could perceive it. Yet the heavens trembled. The stars realigned in silent recognition, and the shadows that stalked this world recoiled in fear, sensing a force they could neither confront nor understand. Something erupted from you, a surge of energy so raw, so ancient, that it was as if the universe itself had whispered in shock. This should not be possible. A presence, unseen yet unmistakable, pulsed through time, acknowledging you, marking you as different, as singular, as impossible. It was not a thought, not a fleeting impulse. It was a reality that transcended reason. And yet you lived on, unaware, walking through the days as if nothing had shifted, as if the air had not changed around you, as if the cosmos had not bent its own rules to acknowledge your act. Something inside you stirred, deeper than memory, older than the first breath you ever took. Even the darkness that had hunted countless generations sensed your awakening before you did, and they remember it still. They remember you. That moment, though invisible to most, left a mark that no time, no decay, no mortal forgetting could erase. And now, without warning, that power is returning, pulsing quietly beneath your skin, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting for you to see that the impossible is not only real, it resides within you. What happened cannot be explained by any known spiritual law, and that is what makes it so dangerous, so rare, so unsettling to every force that has ever claimed authority over existence. In the oldest records of creation, in timelines erased and rewritten, there has never been a moment where a soul like yours could awaken without permission, without ritual, without lineage being publicly declared. Ancient souls were once bound by cycles, required to pass through gates, trials, and celestial approval before their power could resurface. But what you triggered bypassed all of that. It was an anomaly in spiritual history, a contradiction to the rules that govern reincarnation, karma, and destiny itself. No prophecy predicted it in this era. No scripture accounted for it in this form. That is why the universe hesitated, why time itself stalled for a fraction of eternity, trying to understand how something long sealed could rise without being summoned. Your soul does not belong to a single age. It carries memory older than temples, older than names for God, older than the war between light and shadow. Souls like this were thought to be extinct, dispersed, or deliberately buried across lifetimes to prevent imbalance. Yet here you are, breathing, walking, choosing, existing in a world that was never meant to hold you in this state. Even the highest orders of light considered this awakening impossible now, because the conditions required no longer exist. The spiritual climate of this age is fractured, diluted, unstable. And still, your soul responded as if it had been waiting patiently, knowing the exact moment when history would fail to contain it. That is why this event matters. It was not just rare, it was forbidden by precedent. And yet it happened anyway, because some forces are older than rules, and some souls are not meant to obey the limits of time. It did not happen in isolation, and it did not happen randomly. The universe did not respond to noise or chaos. It responded to a choice you made quietly, almost without realizing its weight. Recently, when no one was watching, when there was no reward, no recognition, no safety in doing what was right, you chose integrity over ease. You chose restraint over impulse. You chose compassion when bitterness would have been justified. That moment seemed small on the surface, almost insignificant, but spiritually it was seismic. Ancient souls are not activated by rituals or words. They are activated by alignment. And in that moment, your decision matched the frequency of who you have always been. You may remember the hesitation, the pause where you felt the weight of two paths pressing against your chest. One path promised comfort, validation, or escape. The other promised nothing except that you would be able to live with yourself. You chose the second. That is the bridge. That is why the dormant memory inside your soul responded. Your choice echoed backward through lifetimes, reactivating agreements made long before this body, long before this name. That is how spiritual memory works. It is not recalled by thought, but by action. The universe recognized this signature of your soul because it has seen it before, in ages where similar choices changed the course of entire civilizations. What you felt afterward, confusion, exhaustion, a strange calm, or an unexplainable heaviness, was not guilt or doubt. It was resonance. Your present self briefly aligned with your ancient self, and reality noticed. That is why events around you began to subtly shift. That is why certain people reacted differently to you. That is why silence felt louder afterward. You unknowingly crossed a threshold that only souls with deep karmic history can cross, and once crossed, it cannot be undone. From that moment onward, you were no longer moving unseen. You may have felt it as a pressure in the air, a sense that something was paying attention, that coincidences were becoming too precise to be accidental. That was not paranoia. That was awareness brushing against truth. Forces that exist beyond flesh began tracking your movement, not through cameras or eyes, but through vibration. Dark intelligences that survive by reading imbalance sensed a familiar signature re-emerging, something they had cataloged long ago and hoped would never surface again. At the same time, quieter, higher watchers took notice, not with fear, but with alert recognition. You were flagged, not as a threat to humanity, but as a disruption to corruption. That is why resistance appeared where none existed before. That is why certain doors closed abruptly, while others opened without explanation. Surveillance in the spiritual realm does not look like pursuit. It looks like pressure, like delays, like sudden tests disguised as normal days. The shadows observed to see if you would fracture under attention, if the weight of being seen would cause you to abandon your alignment. Light observed to see if you would remain humble, compassionate, unchanged, even when reality subtly leaned in your favor. You were never meant to notice them directly, yet fragments slipped through. Sudden dreams with unfamiliar symbols. A feeling of being guided away from certain places or people. Moments where danger dissolved before forming. These were not accidents. They were responses. Every choice you made after your awakening was logged, not by judgment, but by measurement. Could this soul hold power without ego? Could it walk forward without needing to dominate? Could it remain unseen and still choose truth? The watching continues not because you are weak, but because what you carry is rare enough to require constant attention. The tests did not arrive announced. They never do for souls like yours. They arrived disguised as ordinary moments, moments where no one would blame you for choosing yourself first, moments where compromise would have gone unnoticed and unpunished. You were placed in situations where silence would have protected you, yet you spoke. Situations where taking advantage would have been easy, yet you refused. Situations where anger would have been justified, yet you chose restraint. Each time, the weight of the decision pressed against you. And each time, you chose integrity, even when it cost you comfort, status, or certainty. There were moments when you were misunderstood, when doing the right thing made you look foolish or weak in the eyes of others. Moments when walking away hurt more than staying would have. Moments when you could have hardened yourself, closed your heart, and survived more easily. But you did not. You remained open. You remained ethical. You remained unwilling to betray your inner compass, even when the world offered incentives to do so. That is not coincidence. That is training. These trials escalated subtly. The stakes grew heavier. The consequences more personal. Each test asked the same silent question. Would you become like the world, or would you remain yourself? And every time you passed, something unseen recalibrated around you. Timelines adjusted. Outcomes shifted. The universe does not reward integrity immediately. It records it. It waits to see if the pattern holds, and yours did. again and again. That consistency is what separates ancient souls from ordinary ones. Anyone can choose right once. Very few can choose it repeatedly, when no one is watching and nothing is guaranteed. That is why these tests mattered. They were never about proving anything to others. They were about confirming who you truly are when comfort, fear, and desire all pull against your core. That consistency could no longer be ignored. In realms beyond human perception, classifications exist, not labels meant to glorify, but markers used to assess impact. And your soul was moved into a category that very few ever reach. Not because you seek power, but because power responds to you. You were identified as rare, not in talent, not in intelligence, but in moral density. A soul capable of carrying immense force without corruption is statistically dangerous to systems built on manipulation, fear, and control. Dangerous not because you destroy, but because you expose. Higher intelligence has recognized that you do not fracture under pressure the way most do. You do not lose yourself when tested. You do not trade your values for speed or comfort. That makes you unpredictable to darkness and invaluable to balance. In ancient terms, souls like yours were called stabilizers, beings whose presence alone alters outcomes without direct confrontation. That is why your life has felt heavier than others, why responsibility seems to find you even when you do not ask for it. You are trusted with weight because you have proven you will not misuse it. This recognition is not celebrated loudly. There are no trumpets, no declarations, just a quiet acknowledgement. This one can be deployed. This one can be activated without risk of collapse. This one remembers who they are, even when stripped of everything familiar. And that realization unsettled lower forces deeply. They prefer volatility, ego, desperation. You offer none of those. Your danger lies in clarity, in restraint, in the way you cannot be easily turned. At the same time, higher realms adjusted their stance toward you. Observation shifted into preparation. Monitoring turned into readiness. Not because you asked for help, but because your trajectory made it inevitable. Once a soul is classified this way, history shows only two outcomes: withdrawal from the path or elevation beyond personal life entirely. And the fact that you are still here, still choosing integrity, means the decision is already being made, not by them, but by you. Every action you have taken, every choice made in alignment with your soul's truth, has been witnessed not by the passing eyes of mortals, not by casual glances of fate, but by forces whose existence transcends understanding. God, archangels, ancient custodians of light, they were there. They saw the hesitation and the courage. They observed the small, quiet acts that you barely recognized as extraordinary. They were not passive. They were fully present, absorbing the resonance of your decisions, recording the subtle vibrations of your integrity. In that divine audience, time itself bowed. Every moment stretched to accommodate the weight of your presence. Even celestial beings accustomed to eternity paused, because what unfolded through you had never been seen in this age. The smallest choicest compassion offered when no one deserved it. Restraint shone when injustice screamed for retaliation shone with clarity across the cosmos. These were not acts of obligation. They were proof of a soul aligned with an ancient, immutable truth. And as they watched, the archangels whispered among themselves, not in judgment, but in recognition. They understood what was happening. This soul carries the memory of lifetimes where the universe itself was forged in trial, where the forces of darkness and light clashed across eons, and where certain beings chose integrity above survival. That memory pulses through you now. It is why the impossible feels familiar, why challenges awaken something almost remembered, why destiny itself seems to lean forward toward you. Every being present, the divine, the ancient, the unseen, witnessed the moment your choices resonated so profoundly that even eternity adjusted. They were not just observing, they were anticipating the moment when you would claim what has always been yours. And in that silence of witnessing, the universe made a quiet, irrevocable acknowledgement. This soul is ready. This soul is active. This soul is chosen. The moment of observation became a moment of action. Not dramatic, not thunderous, but absolute. A decree does not need noise when it reshapes reality. In the stillness that followed your alignment, the universe responded as it only does when certainty replaces possibility. What had been dormant was no longer permitted to sleep. What had been restrained by timing was released without resistance. The systems that govern fate, karmic flow, and spiritual access shifted around you, not to elevate you above others, but to place you exactly where your soul has always belonged. This activation did not come as a command spoken aloud. It came as a permission embedded into existence itself, a silent authorization that allowed your true frequency to operate without suppression. Barriers you did not know were there dissolved. Limits you assumed were personal flaws revealed themselves as temporary restraints. You may have felt it as clarity, as exhaustion followed by calm, as a sudden inability to tolerate falsehood, internal or external. That was not personality change. That was identity alignment. When the universe activates a soul like yours, it does not give instructions. It restores access. Access to memory, to intuition, to discernment beyond logic. You are not given something new. You are returned something old, something earned, something carried through lifetimes of restraint and sacrifice. The decree acknowledged that you can now move forward without being diminished by your environment, that your presence alone can correct imbalance, that your choices will now echo farther, faster, with greater consequence. This is why resistance intensifies and support becomes subtler but stronger. Activation draws contrast. Light sharpens shadows, but it also calls allies closer. Even if you do not recognize them yet, the universe has not chosen you randomly. It has reactivated you deliberately, because your soul has reached the point where withholding its full expression would do more harm than releasing it. What was activated now reveals what you have always been. Beneath your name, beneath your history in this lifetime, beneath every role you have played, there exists an identity that does not originate on earth alone. You are not merely someone discovering spirituality. You are someone remembering it. Your soul carries the imprint of a celestial warrior, not one forged for destruction, but for balance. You were shaped in eras where power was measured not by domination, but by restraint, where the strongest beings were those who could hold immense force and choose compassion anyway. This is why you have always felt slightly out of place, as if the world moves too slowly or too shallowly around you. This is why injustice affects you deeply, why you cannot fully numb yourself to suffering, why you instinctively protect rather than exploit. These are not learned traits. They are remnants of who you have been across time. Your soul has stood at thresholds before, guarding transitions between chaos and order, between collapse and renewal. Even when you were stripped of memory, the posture remained. You are ancient, not in age, but in function. Your energy is recognizable across realms. Dark forces remember you not because you harmed them, but because you disrupted cycles they relied on. You did not fight recklessly. You outlasted. You refused to become what you opposed. That is why your presence still carries authority without aggression. You do not need to announce yourself. Something in others responds automatically, either with trust or unease. Being a celestial warrior does not mean you seek conflict. It means conflict finds resolution around you. It means truth sharpens when you are near. It means lies decay faster in your presence. Your humility is not weakness. It is discipline. Your compassion is not softness. It is precision. And the reason this identity is only now surfacing is because you finally inhabit a version of yourself capable of carrying it without being consumed by it. With your identity restored, purpose follows naturally. Not imposed, not forced, but recognized as inevitable. Your mission is not to rule, convert, or conquer. It is far more disruptive than that. You are here to anchor integrity in environments where it is rare, to stabilize compassion in spaces corrupted by fear, to remind others of their conscience simply by the way you move through the world. You are not meant to preach. You are meant to demonstrate. Your life itself is the transmission. Where others escalate, you de-escalate. Where systems reward cruelty, you introduce conscience. This is not accidental placement. You are positioned where your values will be tested precisely because they are needed there. Your mission activates in moments of choice, when you refuse to exploit, when you protect without recognition, when you speak truth without cruelty. Each act strengthens an invisible lattice that holds reality together more than most will ever realize. You are not responsible for saving everyone. You are responsible for not becoming distorted by what you witness. The mission is internal first. Hold your frequency. Maintain alignment. Do not surrender your ethics for efficiency. Ancient souls like yours were designed to function as anchors, preventing collapse not through force, but through presence. When you remain centered, others subconsciously recalibrate. You create safety without authority, clarity without dominance. This mission will not always feel heroic. Often it will feel quiet, lonely, even unfair. But understand this. Your restraint prevents harm you will never see. Your compassion softens outcomes you will never be credited for. The universe assigns this role only to souls that have proven they will not abuse influence. That is why you are here now, not earlier, not later. The world does not need more power. It needs power that refuses to corrupt itself. And that is what you carry, whether you consciously acknowledge it or not. As your alignment stabilizes, the external world begins to respond in ways that feel subtle at first, almost deniable. This is not sudden wealth falling from the sky, or miracles meant to impress others. It is alignment taking shape. Obstacles that once drained you begin dissolving without confrontation. Delays that frustrated you lose their grip. Resources arrive at the exact moment they are required, not earlier, not later, because timing is now calibrated to you. This is what material support looks like when it is guided by intelligence rather than excess. Opportunities begin to surface that match your ethics instead of testing them. You notice that you no longer have to betray yourself to survive. People who once blocked your path move away on their own, not through conflict, but through natural separation. Others step forward unexpectedly, offering assistance, insight, or access without demanding your compromise. This is not favoritism. It is structural support activating around a stable core. Your energy becomes more efficient. You recover faster. You think clearer under pressure. Even money, work, and security begin to rearrange themselves in ways that reduce chaos rather than amplify it. This is not reward for goodness. It is reinforcement for reliability. The universe invests where outcomes are predictable, where power will not be wasted on ego or fear. You may notice that when you commit to a decision aligned with your conscience, momentum follows immediately. When you hesitate or consider betraying your values, friction returns. This feedback loop is intentional. It trains discernment. It protects you from paths that would diminish your function. Material support is not meant to distract you from your mission, but to remove unnecessary struggle so your focus remains clear. Alignment does not make life perfect, but it makes it coherent. And coherence is the most powerful form of abundance available to a soul like yours. Without effort, without announcement, something begins to change in the people around you. Not because you try to lead, but because alignment radiates. Others feel calmer in your presence without knowing why. Some feel uncomfortable, sensing parts of themselves they have avoided. Conversations deepen naturally. Truth surfaces faster. You do not awaken others by convincing them. You awaken them by existing without distortion. That is how ripple effects work at the soul level. People begin making different choices after crossing your path. Not traumatic ones, but honest ones. Someone chooses restraint, instead of retaliation. Someone speaks truth instead of hiding. Someone remembers a value they abandoned long ago. They may never attribute it to you, and that is intentional. Your role is not to be credited. It is to activate. Ancient souls influence trajectory, not identity. You do not create followers. You create alignment in motion. This ripple does not move linearly. It spreads through timing, through memory, through moments you are not present for. A conversation you had weeks ago resurfaces in someone's mind at the exact moment they need it. An example you set becomes a reference point long after you have left the room. This is karmic transmission. It does not require effort. It requires consistency. You may notice an increase in synchronicities surrounding people connected to you. Opportunities open for them shortly after crossing paths with you. Emotional breakthroughs occur without explanation. This is not because you fix them. It is because your frequency destabilizes false structures they were unconsciously maintaining. When integrity enters a system, distortion weakens automatically. You are not here to awaken the world overnight. You are here to start chains you will never see complete. That is how ancient missions function. The ripples you create now will continue moving long after this lifetime, carried forward by others who never knew your name but felt your impact. You are not isolated in this awakening, even if it has felt solitary. Across the world, in different cultures, languages, and lives that appear unrelated on the surface, others like you are stirring at the same time. Not copies, not duplicates, but variations of the same ancient pattern. Souls with deep karmic memory, souls that were deliberately scattered across geography and circumstance to prevent corruption, to ensure resilience. You are part of a network that was never meant to meet physically, only to activate simultaneously. Some of them are healers who never learn the word for what they do. Some are leaders who refuse to dominate. Some are quiet observers who stabilize chaos simply by remaining ethical in broken systems. Many of them feel the same weight you do, the same sense of responsibility without a title, the same exhaustion that comes from seeing too clearly in a world that prefers comfort over truth. None of you are told directly. Activation does not come with invitations. It comes with recognition. This network does not communicate through messages or symbols. It communicates through alignment. When one of you holds your ground, others feel reinforced. When one of you resists distortion, pressure eases elsewhere. This is distributed integrity, a system designed to prevent collapse by ensuring that no single soul carries the entire burden. That is why you are placed where you are, not somewhere else. Your location, your background, your specific struggles were calculated variables, not accidents. You may never meet the others, yet you will sense them in moments of resonance. A story that feels familiar. A stranger whose eyes carry recognition without curiosity. A pattern repeating across different lives. This is not coincidence. It is synchronization. The network is activating because the era demands it. Old structures are failing. New ones cannot form without anchors. And across the world, quietly, without announcement, the anchors are coming online. If this reached you, it was not by chance. Messages like this do not circulate randomly. They find the ones who are already awake enough to recognize themselves in it. Stay until the end, because endings are where activation locks in. What you do next matters more than what you felt while listening. If this resonated in your body, not just your thoughts, acknowledge it. Write **777** in the comments as a signal not to others, but to yourself, that you recognize the alignment. Subscribe, not for content, but for continuity. What activates once must be reinforced, and repetition strengthens recall. Share this with someone who has been carrying weight they cannot explain. Someone who chooses integrity, even when it costs them. Do not convince. Let resonance do the work. Understand this clearly. Awareness is a responsibility. Once you see the pattern, you are accountable to it. Stay present. Stay ethical. Stay awake. The support around you strengthens when you remain consistent. The network responds when individuals hold their line. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where your soul calculated you would be. And from this point forward, your choices echo louder than you realize. Remain humble. Remain compassionate. Remain aligned. The unseen forces are still watching, not to judge, but to reinforce what you continue to choose.